Hello. Hello. Good morning to all. I request all the participants kindly wait for another 5 minutes for the session. Good morning to all. I, Santosh Kumar GM, Assistant Professor, Department of Hubli, welcoming you all for national level 5 days online faculty development program on building new dimensions towards faculty empowerment. Today is the third day. Before starting the session, I welcome Dr. Sridhar Iyer, R&D Coordinator, Associate Professor, HCBIT Belagavi, for the session. And I also welcome all the participants for the Day-3 FTP. Before starting the session, I request all the participants, please mute your microphone and turn off your camera. Now I request Dr. Sridhar Iyer sir to take over the session.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. And am I visible also, sir?
So, yeah, sir. Now you are
Okay.
visible.
So today's session, good morning to everybody. Today's session will be all about examples of the proposals, the project proposals which we had discussed about. I'll be showing you few PDFs and how the projects can be written and so on and so forth. So let's begin today's session. Uh, Sir, is my slide visible, sir?
Sir, slides are not visible. Now it's okay, sir. Now
Now
it's
it's
okay.
visible. Okay. And is it full screen also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's begin with today's session. So this is part two of the project proposal preparation. And I wish to show many examples so that all the participants can get a hang of how exactly the proposals can be written. Of course, different researchers will write the proposals in their own way, but I just want to show a path how it can be done. So again, I want to throw out this disclaimer that these practices and approaches will vary, as I just mentioned. So please use your own judgment. So let's look at the examples. So I'll just quickly go through three or four slides and let all the participants know what are the different examples which we are going to look at, and then I will go back to the PDFs of the examples. The first example I'll be showing you is the DST SERP, which I had done in 2013. So I'll be showing you the project proposal. I'll be showing you what documents are required from the institute, what consumables may be required, and the quotations, which is very important. Then what the letter of approval from DST looks like. In 2013, the proposal had to be posted in a sealed envelope well before the deadline. In 2020, now we don't have this case because everything is online. A report needed to be submitted every 6 months, the progress report. There was an auditing, financial auditing, which was done by DST itself every 3 months. And publications of patents which came through the project had to acknowledge DST serve funding. Extension was granted for only 6 months and required many approvals. As I mentioned in yesterday's session, I had overdone, my objectives. So I really struggled with the extension part for 6 months. So one has to be very careful here. And then final report with all the publications need to be submitted as a hard copy. That is not the case now in 2020. So this is the first example I'll be showing. The next would be a 2017 example from Ministry of Information Technology. I will not be able to share the project as such because it was a collaborative project, but I will just show you the quotations which were required for printer, a software called as MATLAB, and a laptop that we purchased. But I will not be able to show you the project as such. Then a 2019 example of VTU through TechWeb funds. I'll show you the proposal and the acceptance letter which came through from VTU. And then there is a DST CERT 2020 example which I'll be sharing, which requires a technical document which needs to be uploaded as a PDF. And then there is something called as upload sheet, which I'll be also showing you. There's a lot of difference between what was done in 2013 and what is being done in 2020. Report needs to be submitted every 6 months. Auditing is also scheduled every 3 months. Extension is highly unlikely. Everything is online. So these are the few examples which I'll be showing. So let's go back to the 2013 example. Uh, Please let me know, sir, if my PDF is visible.
Sir, now visible, sir.
Okay.
PDF is visible.
Okay, so before I show you the project proposal as such, which was written, these are certain documents which will be required if you are going in for DST serve. The first is an endorsement from the head of the institution, the principal or the director, and this needs to be given on an official letterhead. One does not have to worry about these formats because, as I showed you yesterday on the DST website, these formats and templates are given by DST and SERP themselves. So, as you can see, you needed to write the project title here. Then you needed to write the name of the principal investigator. So you just copy this on a Word file and just just change or add the name of the PI, the title, the name of the department, institute, and so on and so forth. And this was an undertaking which the institute needed to take if you had if you were sending a project to DST sir. The most important part in this endorsement is that everything that all the funds that you get or the institute gets from DST will be used only for the institute. So that will be one or two of the points which will be mentioned here. So this is one of the document which needs to be sent. So you needed the seal of the institute, the signature of director of the institute. Then in 2013, you also needed a certificate if you were visiting abroad, and this had to be given to DST 8 weeks before you are planning any a visit abroad for a conference or any coursework. This is not applicable in 2020 because there's a separate grant which is known as International Travel Fund or International Travel Scheme. So this certificate is not applicable in 2020. This certificate has been removed. Then a certificate of any fellowship, that was there. So this had to be taken by the principal investigator, and then you had to give the institute or the university's, other details. There was going to be an RTGS of the funds which were going to be given by DST to the institute. So you had to mention all these details like account number and all other details which are mentioned here. So this template was given by DST itself, and the principal investigator did not really have to worry about these templates. Uh, this is one of the examples of a software which I purchased, and you needed a quotation like this. That software was about 10 lakhs worth. So you needed a solid quotation from the vendor, and they specify these kind of the quotations, and these quotations will be valid for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, depending on the vendor. So if today I'm submitting a project, the quotation may be worth will be valid for next 3 months or 4 months, and we hope that the project would be evaluated by then, and the funds would be granted. In case if it takes longer than the validity of the quotation, then it is always suggested that we add some 10 or 20% overhead in the budget to take care of increase in the price for the software or the experimental test bed which we require. So you needed a quotation like this, and this had to be submitted to DST. Then you had to mention the list of consumables, and so this was the consumable which was mentioned, and you needed this much amount for this consumable. And finally, when the project was sanctioned or allowed, you get a letter like this. Which, it's an official letter which comes from DST, and it mentions what is the next procedure, so on and so forth. So this is the example of 2013. Now let me show you the project as such, and you will get an idea of how the project should look like. Sir, is my screen visible now? It's a Word file. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay. So you first started with the title, and please remember this is 2013. So there was no word limit on the title, and you will see in 2020 there are limits to this. So you could put in the title, and you can see that it's about 3 to almost 4 lines. Then you needed to write an abstract. Again, there was no word limit on the abstract, so you can see that the abstract is quite long, and you could use all sorts of information in the abstract. But this is not the case in 2020, which you will see later. And then again, you needed to write an introduction. Again, there was no word limit on the introduction. So this entire file which was written, it just needed to be converted into a PDF file and just print it out and just send them as a hard copy. But there was no word limit at all. So it was easier to write the proposal back in 2013 when there was no word limit or character limit. But in 2020, 2019, there were a lot of restrictions. So this format again is given by the DST or SERB, and you just had to, uh, follow the template. Then comes the objective, and here they had put that there is no word limit, but preference is in terms of bullets. So you can see that this was a 36 months project with an extension of 6 months. So I had mentioned three objectives, each objective to be finished in 1 year. The first objective was basically only a 6 months objective, but I say it was one year because the first 6 months would be involved in the literature survey. So you need to give enough time to perform the literature survey and then tackle the first problem. The second problem was to be done in the second year, and the third problem was to be done in the third year. So one needs to really know the project and know the research work well before writing the project. Then you are also asked what is the significance or contribution. Again, there is no word limit. So here you really need to highlight what is the novelty of the project. Why your project needs to be funded by the funding agency. If this point is not right, then there is a high chance that the project may not be funded. So one needs to really write this properly. Next comes the work plan and timeline, and I told you yesterday that I will be showing you how exactly it can be written. So I kind of came up with this idea of a table in which I would write the targets monthly. So it was a 36 month project. So I went monthly. So if you can see in the first 6 months, I wanted to do the literature survey. And I wanted to ensure that the research associate or research fellow whom I hire will also end up with a PhD thesis, towards the end. So I really gave the reviewers an idea that this literature survey will form the introduction chapter of the PhD thesis. So, if you are pursuing your PhD or if you are going to pursue, for those who have finished and are guiding, it is always suggested that the literature survey or the literature review is also published, so that no one really, questions the problem which the student is handling. Right, during the defense, there may be a question that was this problem already solved before? So by publishing the literature survey as a journal article, you ensure that that is not the case, and nobody questions the research problems which you are tackling. In the 12 months, in the next 6 months, I wanted to develop, the first problem, solution to the first problem. And I also mentioned to the reviewer that I'm looking at a conference publication in a high indexed, conference publication. In the next 6 months, I'll be extending the same problem here into a journal article. And then similarly, I went to with the 24 and 30 months, and I went with the 36 months. So towards the end of the 36 months, assuming the extension as well, this is the time I will require to type the PhD thesis and defend the research. So one needs to really clearly understand how you're going to really segregate the entire research problem which we have at hand into month-wise or year-wise. I would suggest to do it monthly. It really helps in achieving the targets rather than doing it yearly. Next comes the budget. So this I think is very important because we need to really know how we are going to budget our project. BST gives you, a table. It gives you a template, so it becomes much easier. So the first head that we have is the salary and the wages. So at that time in 2013, we went with 21 or 22,000 per month in the first year, in the second year, and then increase it to about 24 or 25,000 in the third year. So you have these budgets for the 3 years, and that total comes to about this amount. Then we had the consumables, which we split into 3 years. And then the travel, which is split into 3 years, assuming that we go for a couple of conferences every year. So back in 2013, when the conference registration was, somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000, you could afford to, go back and forth to a couple of conferences in about 50,000 or so. But that is not the case now. So the travel cost will increase in a budget in 2020. So any other cost that we had, we split that as 50,000, like let's say books or any kind of other purchases. And then there is a total that we split for 3 years, and that is the total amount. And then the overheads we took as 20%. This overhead basically is the example which I gave you, that if you have like a software which you are going to purchase, and the quotation is let's say 10 lakhs, but that quotation is valid only for 3 months, but the project evaluation and the grant of funding takes 6 months. So in that 3 month gap that we have, the cost of the software or the experimental test bed will increase. So this overhead of 20% will take care of that cost difference which we have, right? And then finally, then you had to give the references. Then we had to give the CV of the principal investigator. Please pay attention here that there was no format. So again, the investigator could, give a very detailed CV, which I had given, but now in 2020, you have a format. In the CV, they basically look at the publications of the principal investigator, and that is very important. So if an investigator has good publications, then it is highly likely that the
Hello, sir. Hello. 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 ನನ್ನ voice ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ನನ್ನ voice- All the participants, please wait for another 5 minutes. Hello. Speaker is facing internet problem, so please wait for another 5 minutes. We will get back to you soon.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yeah, there was some issue with the laptop. I'm sorry about that. Where did I leave off, sir? Did I finish the DST proposal?
You had started that, sir. You have to continue with that bit.
Okay. Did I get disconnected on the budget part?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Budget heading you had told, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes, sir. I'll just share that again. Okay. Sir, is my screen visible now?
Yes.
Okay. So I think this is where I got disconnected. Sorry about that. So this is the budget part. Uh, where the DST would give like a table, but it did not really help back in 2013. So we really had to struggle with the budget part. But now in 2020, it gives you many such formats. So it is much easier to do the budget part. Someone who's writing the proposal can look for salaries and wages if you are trying to hire any, uh, research associates, the senior research fellow or junior research fellow. So back in 2013, we went with 20 to 22,000 per month in the initial 2 years, and increased to 24, 25,000 for the third year. Now, of course, this salary is much higher in 2020. Then the consumables, the total cost was very high, so we split it into the 3 years, the 36 months. The travel, we had considered two conferences per year based on our work plan. Uh, and the registration for any good IEEE conference was also much lower in 2013. It was somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000, and the tickets cost also to and fro was quite less. So somewhere in between 50,000 to 60,000, two conferences could have been done. So assuming that we had split our cost for the 3 years, we had also considered short-term courses and workshops during the 3 years. So that's why you see there is an increase in cost between the first year to second year to third year. Some other costs we had considered at 50,000 for all the 3 years. This was basically any book that we needed to purchase, or any kind of stationery and those things. Of course, books in back in 2013 was mostly hard copy books. So if you needed any foreign author book, then the cost was high. Of course, we needed any journals which we were not subscribed to, then getting that journal at a cost was also high. So all this other cost will take care of these additional things. So there was a total that we got for every year. You can see the 3 years total, and there's a complete total for the entire duration of the project. Then we had the overheads, and we considered 20%. So this overhead basically is what I explained. What I had explained previously, that if we get if we apply for a software through a vendor, so that quotation is valid, let's say for 3 months, but the project evaluation takes about 6 months or so. So the quotation will not be valid, or there will be an increase in the cost of the software or the hardware. So in that case, this overheads of 20%, will take care of that additional cost gap. So this could be kept as 10% or 20%, depending on the principal investigator's idea of writing the budget. So then you have a grand total, and please understand that the grand total is the one that will be sanctioned if the project is found suitable for funding, and no additional cost will be given by the funding agency. So one needs to be really sure that this is the total amount they will need to do the research. And then finally, one had to write the references. They were also very particular about the reference part, because the references should not be very, very old. So writing this in 2013, we could not go below 2010 or 2009 in referencing the journals or the white papers. And then we needed the CV of the principal investigator. Again, there was no format which was given by the agency. So here the investigator could elaborately, write the CV. But what is mentioned in the CV specifically is that the investigator must give the list of publications. So whatever are the peer-reviewed articles in conferences, journals, any book, any white paper, all those kind of things has to be mentioned. That will have a weightage on the evaluation of the project proposal. And then we had to mention few people, few faculty or academicians or industry people who could evaluate the project. So this was back in 2013. So now let me show you another example. This is a 2019 example. It's a VTU example. Uh, so please let me know if my Word file is visible.
Sir, no, sir. Now it's okay, sir.
Now it's okay. Okay. There was a title of the project. I've removed the all the details because I'm not allowed to show the details. But this was the format which was given by VTU Tech itself. So you had the title of the project. The most important or the key in this VTU Tech Fund was that it had to be a multi-institutional collaborative research work. So the idea behind that was that two institutes or three institutes, researchers from those institutes will collaborate in the work. So therefore, you can see that we had to give the profile of the applicants and co-applicants in the form of a resume. We had to give the departments, institutions, name and all other details for the applicant, the co-applicant one, co-applicant two, and so on and so forth. So the applicant will be the principal investigator, and his or her institute would be the host institute. And then we had to give the contact details. And then so this format was specified by VTU itself. Then research credentials of the applicant. So we had to give a separate CV on only the research. Then need for present research. So we really had to tell the evaluators why we are asking for funds and why we are trying to do this particular research and what is the need for this. So we really had to tell the novelty of our research work here. So that had to be filled in. And then the objectives, and it was specified very clearly by VTU that it had to be in bullets itself. So it was a 6 to 8 months project, and the maximum that you could get in the form of a budget was 3 lakhs. So you could not really afford to do a whole lot of objectives. So we had split 2 objectives into 4 parts, trying to do trying to find solutions to each objective in a duration of 1 to 2 months. So it was not a very elaborative research work. It was not meant to be an elaborative research work. Rather, it was just trying to get some part of a huge project or a large project. Then very important, something that was new was that they asked for a societal relevance, and our project really had a good fit in this because the Indian government had just come up with the Broadband Network Limited, BBNL scheme, and so it really fit into that. But this was something new which I found in any agencies call for proposals, the societal relevance. And now in 2020, one may see that all agencies are going in with societal relevance. So your project must also have a relevance to the society. What is the methodology? So here we had to tell them if it was a simulation or experiment, and what kind of software or hardware that we would require, because that would have a impact on the budget. What is the expected outcome? So we had to be very clear what would be the expected outcome. So we said that we will be having SCI index publications, and there'll be innovative process and so on and so forth. And then any other information. So we said that we do not need license for the softwares because the investigators already had the license. So any other information. So this format was given by the VTU itself. And then we needed to provide the financial requirements. So this table also was provided by VTU. So what were the particulars and what was the financial requirement? So we wanted to go to the conferences, and we also wanted to go to certain workshops. We also wanted to publish SCI index publications, and we wanted to make them open access, which incurs a cost. So just for the participants who may not be that aware, there is a difference between open access cost and publication cost. There are journals which will take APC, which is article publication cost, that is to publish and print your journal article, whereas open access is a scheme by which a published article can be made open to all the research, the entire research community. So I am personally not a fan of APC, article processing charges, because that is as good as giving money to get published. But open access, that is done through by all the journals. Even the highly reputed journals take some cost to make it open access. So there's a difference between the two. So that incurs a cost in some dollars or euros depending on the journal. So then we wanted to, we did not have any research product to commercialize. So we put NA. We did not wanted to go for any patenting. We did not involve any, our project did not involve any testing or analysis. And consumables, we did not require, any stationery or printing. We just needed some kind of postal charges for one of the workshops. So we put that, as 3,000. So this format was given by VTU, and any other cost we wanted one of the books through the the e-commerce. So we mentioned that as well, giving the link. So this was the finance that we required, which was asked by VTU. And then finally, they had asked for an action plan starting, October till May. Each month we have to give them what is an action plan in terms of, publications, conferences, any consumable if we wanted. So this table was given by the VTU itself. So it really helped us in, really organizing our research work. It was about 8 to 9 months of research work going on here. So this is one of the examples in 2019. Now let me show you one final example of 2020. So just give me a moment here. So in 2020, I'll not be able to really share a whole lot of details with you. Some of it cannot be shared, but whatever I can share, I'll share those details with you. So you'll be able to see the difference between 2020 and 2013. So just give me a moment. Sir, is my PDF visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the DST format if you want to apply now in 2020. So again, you need a certificate from the investigator, the principal investigator. So again, this template is available on the DST website for whichever scheme you want to apply for. Let's say the early career research or the startup research grant or any other kind of funding which you are applicable to. So you need a certificate from the investigator, the project title, and then the other things are just mentioned by DST itself. So basically, you just have to copy paste this on a Word file on a letterhead, and then then type your name, date, place. If you have any co-PI, do that, and then just sign it. And this needs to be scanned. Now there is no need to send any hard copy to DST. Everything needs to be scanned. So on their website, you have the option to have a username, password, and then log in. And then once you log in, step by step, they ask you all the details, including the scanned copy of all these certificates. So you'll have that option of browsing into your computer and then uploading all these things. So nothing is hard copy anymore. Then you need an endorsement certificate from the host institute. So you can see that the dot lines, you just have to fill in the blanks. And the word project title, and as I mentioned yesterday, we need to be a regular faculty in order to apply for any kind of funding. And it also mentions in one of the points that the funding which will be given should be used only for the institute. It cannot be used for anything personal, and everything that you purchase will be remaining in the institute as well. So all these points are mentioned. And then finally, you have a signature from head of the institute, seal of the institution. And this again needs to be scanned and then uploaded at an appropriate point on the online portal itself. A change from 2013, you have a pro forma of the biodata. This was not present in 2013. So really, you could have a very detailed CV, but now that is not the case. So this template is also given to the principal investigator. So you don't have much to fill in. Uh, the qualification, work experience, PhD thesis. So they really concentrate on point number 11, 12, and 13. More so on point number 12 and 13. They are really looking for publications, and as you can see in the publications, very important, they are looking for only list of papers in SCI journals. So any kind of journals lower than SCI, you know, that will really not help your case in getting the funding. So something like Scopus or any other kind of indexing will really not help. So minimum we are looking at SCI, and above that, then you have Nature, Science, and those kind of indexings. But SCI is the minimum that they're looking at. Any kind of award or certificate, any recognition that you have, any patents, that will really help. Any books if you have, and any other information for about 500. So you can see that the CV is not very large. Once you start, filling in these details, probably your CV in this format will only be about 3 or maximum 4 pages. Whereas in the previous case in 2013, it could, really go, 10 pages or so. So, but that is not allowed here. So that is about the details which are required in 2020 for DST. Now let me just give you some information on what is required in terms of what has to be uploaded. Everything has to be online. So this is what I have termed as an upload sheet. This sheet will not be required to be uploaded, but at various points on the online portal, it will be required by the investigator to put in these details. So the title will have to be, let's say, copy pasted from here and put it in a box at an appropriate place. So what I found out is it is easier to just make an upload sheet and include all the details which are required to be put in, at appropriate places. So you can see DST specifies it, title, preferably one line, short and definitive, whereas in 2013, if you remember, it was almost 3 or 3.5 lines. But now they prefer only one line. Project summary, 1500 words. So if you have 1501 word, you will not be able to proceed, with the submission. It will not accept it. So now they are limited the number of words. The keywords maximum 6. Objectives of the project, preferably in bullet points, but maximum 1500 words. Not write, a whole lot of bullet points. If you have 1501 words, it will not take it. Expected outcome of the proposal, again 500 words. So the DFT has really, given you a lot of restrictions and constraints, but you really have to have experience to write with these many amount of words and characters. Then the budget, and they give you a table like this. You can include the manpower, consumables, travel, equipment, contingency, overheads. So this table is given them so that it will become easier for us to do the work. This is something which we can do it on a separate Word file and then just copy from here and paste it at appropriate points. The next comes a sheet which has to be shown. So let me just look through that sheet. Is my sheet, is the new sheet visible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay. So I hope the technical document is visible. Is that so?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. So this is a document which has to be uploaded as a PDF, and its size should not exceed 10 MB. And so you can see here very clearly, and I have marked it in red. You need to write the state of the art, maximum 1 page. And the agency has also written it should be short, concise review of status of research. So it needs to really address the practical and solvable issues Any extension work is not considered as a novelty anymore. So the investigator, the prospective investigators need to really understand. Please do not do any extension work and try to present it as a novelty. It's just an extension work. Novelty is something which has not been addressed anymore. So that needs to come as a state of the art, and that needs to be maximum 1 page. Then you have origin of the proposal, maximum half page, where the proposal originated from. So you need to give a scientific rationale. If you recollect, yesterday I had mentioned that rationale may not be required in the form of a document, but in 2020 it is required as a document. So you need to present a scientific rationale and importance of the proposed work. So this is a very important point number 2 here, because you really need to highlight the importance of the work and why it should be funded. Next is the research plan. They give you 2 pages to give a research plan. I would suggest, again, this table is not given by them, but I would suggest that prospective investigators can probably take this.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I got disconnected, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. I'll just show you. Is my sheet visible, sir?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, so I think I was on the research plan. Prospective investigators can use this table to give the research plan. So the agency itself specifies that you need to outline the overall strategy, how we are trying to solve the problems, how we intend to accomplish the work, and what will be the methodology and the procedure which we'll be taking. So depending on the number of years, here I'm just showing an example of a 24-month project, which is 2 years. So you can have an initial plan, let's say when we are trying to survey, then you can have a work plan 1 where we can solve or provide solution to objective 1, then work plan 2, and then work plan 3. So it depends on the investigator how they want to do it. This kind of a table will help. You can also have a bar chart like this. Again, this is not provided by the agency. It's something which I just came up with. So this really helps the reviewer in understanding what is the kind of work or how much time in how much time duration the work will be done. So you can see that the initial period will be somewhere from 0 to some months, and then you have work plan 1, then you have work plan 2, and work plan 3. So this is the work plan and the timeline which you can provide to the reviewer. It helps them in reviewing the project much better. Uh, if you have something important, so I'm just giving you an example. If you have something important to state, this can also be stated here. For example, if some software is already available with you, some hardware is already available with you, mention it very clearly to the reviewer that we do not require funds for that. They appreciate it. This is my experience. Rather than going for asking budget for something which is already there, it is better to state that we already have it and we would not really need any money for that kind of equipment or software. Key publications in the last 5 years. Again, the publications have to be really high impact. They cannot be mediocre or less than that. It has to be high impact journals, any books, any patents, and so on. Bibliography, very important. In my experience, please do not go below 2 years from the current year. So in 2020, please do not cite anything which is 2016 or 17 or below. And for project proposals, white papers, deliverables, as I mentioned yesterday also, these will really increase the credibility of your research proposal. Then something that the agency is asking these days is equipment which is available with the institute. The PI's group, the investigators group, department, or any other institute want to fund for anything which is already there with the institute, or which generally should be available in the institutes and the departments. So something like printer, something, some sort of a book. They expect that these things will be there with the institute and the department. So it's better not to ask any funds for that. So this is the technical document which is required in 2020. So you can see that there is a lot of restrictions, a lot of constraints, and a lot of changes from 2013. It is becoming more and more concise, so to say, and it is requiring a lot of experience from the investigators. Again, I state that the project proposals can only be written by the investigators who are really up to date with the state of art. It is not possible to write a proposal, without having read properly. So let me go back to the slide, and I'll just give the uh, finishing part to this part 2. Just give me a moment. Sir, are my slides visible? Is my slide?
Not yet, sir. Not yet. Yes, sir.
No, it's not. So I've given you an example of DST in 2013, how it was. I've shown you the quotations. I've shown you the video TechWhip proposal. I've shown you the DST serve, how it is in 2020. So there are many changes, and a lot is required from the investigators in 2020, and it's going to become more and more, investigator based ahead. Also, it's going to be very tough to get the funds from the agencies because they are really looking at state-of-the-art researches. So I'll quickly recap whatever we have done yesterday and today. Title of the research, a good idea is to have a concise title. It will give the reviewer a general sense of what is going to be investigated. Something which I believe will be rejected is if a title is too long, it is too broad, it is not narrowing down to what is going to be investigated. So a lot of time and effort needs to be put in on the title of the research project. Referees, earlier they used to ask, the agencies used to ask for referees. Maybe the state funding agencies may ask for referees, reviewers. I'm not really aware, but at least the government agencies these days are not asking for referees. But if they do ask you, any institutional thing or any state funding, if they do ask you for referees, please choose them in the field of your research. Choose someone who will be objective but not very, very critical. If they are very critical, you will not get the funds. Also, don't choose very close collaborators or relatives and really top scientists, because they are going to be very, very critical. I'm not saying that you should choose someone like a friend, but the really top ones, depending on the agency where you are applying, you'll get a sense of where the referees are. But I really don't think the agencies are asking referees from investigators these days. Some journals ask for reviewers, but that also is going to stop very soon. So this referee providing or reviewer providing thing is going to stop very soon. Co-applicants, of course, you can have co-applicants. Uh, if you are a junior investigator, let's say if you are in the starting part of an investigator, then this kind of a co-applicant will help who is experienced to guide you through the project, because handling a project for 2, 3, 4 years needs experience, and initially first couple of times it requires a lot of experience. So co-investigators in that sense will really help. If the co-investigator is just going to give you a reaction, then the co-investigator is of no help to you. And the co-applicant or investigator will not add much value, if they are not really experienced. So please choose co-investigators based on experience. Things like friendship and relatives and this kind of co-applicants will really not help you perform a project. Budget, give a detailed account. Please do not hide anything. That is something which I really want to say. There will be auditing done, and nothing, no money is for ourselves personally. It all goes to the institute and towards the research. Don't hire graduate students. If you are hiring them, then you are supposed to pay them well. But don't give them less amount, because now the government norms are out there for anyway graduate students, so one needs to follow them. And don't spend a huge chunk of budget on only a certain thing. Divide it properly. So that's the whole idea of the budget. And again, please do not hide any cost. Summary of a research proposal needs to be done properly. Please state the hypothesis very, very clearly. Significance is very, very important. And significance can come only when the literature survey has been done properly, and the most recent articles, patents, and deliverables, white papers have been referred to. If this significance is not highlighted in the research proposal, there's a very, very high chance that the reviewer will reject the proposal for funding. Define all your acronyms, as much as possible, because the reviewer may not be from exact, research, your research area. They may be from the domain, but not exact research area. So it's better to define all the acronyms. The last point, very important, if there is no clear statement of what is the purpose, then it is just going to, lead to a rejection of the research proposal. You need to give the details of the research proposal. Background, very important. Background is very important. Any rationale. Now you can see in 2020 they require rationale as a document. Any hypothesis, any approach, the approach which you are going to take. What are the results? Where you are going to publish them. Is it going to be a journal? Which journal? Conference? Which conference? Patent? Which patent are you eyeing? If it is white paper, if you are doing anything with industry, what kind of white paper? What is the significance and impact of the proposal? It's very important to mention that. What are the goals or objectives of the proposal? You should really highlight the innovation of the proposal, the novelty of the. What end of the introduction we always highlight, what is the novelty of the study. So same has to be done with the proposal. What is the novelty or what is the significance? And again, the background will be really helpful in letting everyone know what is the significance of this research proposal. If you are not going to have any goal or objective, if it is too long without any major significance, or if it is too short, not mentioning the details, then there is a high chance that the proposal will be rejected. Please understand, this is not a journal publication. This is a proposal for funds. So, the funding will be given after a very detailed scrutiny. So everything has to be in order. Again, a good background. The reviewer needs all the information, and he's able to understand the objectives and approaches. Then there's a high chance that we may get the funding. What are the questions which are posed through research, and what are the answers that you are trying to give. That also needs to be highlighted. Just don't please don't highlight or expand the background with unnecessary information. What do I mean by that is just including studies which are already existing. So I gave an example on the first day of how introduction to a journal can be written. Rather than giving a lot of information on someone else's study, it should rather be of our own study. So same applies here. Please do not expand the background or survey with other study. It should be very crisp and to the point and very very recent. And so don't just elaborate it, because the reviewer is not going to then read it if they don't find it practical and feasible. The rationale and hypothesis, as I've already mentioned, now we require this in the form of a document, and why you need to really give a hypothesis of why this particular proposal is required and what it is going to investigate. Try not to confuse the reviewer. As I told you, reviewer may not be from the exact research area. He or she could be from the domain. So keep it simple and try not to confuse the reviewer too much. And again, the hypothesis need not be very, very long, because it's just going to convolute things for the reviewer. Specific aims are very good. I've highlighted, make one less risky aim compared to other aims. So basically, I'm trying to just suggest that in a flow of research, don't give too many aims. I have done that before. So it's very difficult to then really provide solutions to all the aims, and extensions now is most likely looks like a big no for extension. So specific aims, limit them according to the number of years. If it is 2 years, maybe 3-4 aims. If it is 3 years, maybe 5-6 aims, and so on, depending on the research that you are conducting. Many specific aims are bad. If they are copy pasted, they are bad. Plagiarism not allowed, and in some domains, it is better to keep aim 2 or objective 2 independent of objective 1. But in some domains, it may not be possible. All the objectives and aims will be connected to each other. So that is at the discretion of the investigator. Too many specifics on the experiments. It depends again on the domain if it is required or not. Most likely, it may not be required. Too many issues within the field of research. When too many issues will lead to too many objectives, and then it will be a problem to solve them. So try to keep them to a minimum. Again, significance and impact. How is the proposal innovative? Very, very important to keep that. Also, in one of the points, if you have noticed, they are asking what will be the significance in the future. So you need to really give them, the reviewer, an idea of how your results or how the solutions will help in the future direction of the research. So what is the scope of future direction? Proposal will most likely be rejected if it is not having any significant statements. Anything superficial without really, having a lot of details, specific details, will also lead to rejection. Applicant CV, very, very, very important. Of course, if you are an investigator who is less experienced or new, the reviewers do understand that. So in that case, your research proposal needs to be really exquisite. It needs to really show that your research matters. But as you go through the years, when you are more experienced, your CV will anyway build. So it is, it will become easier to kind of get the grants, and you also have the experience. So it will take some time to get that experience, but you should get started. I believe everyone should get started in the project proposals and getting funds, because that is the requirement now, and no track. All middle authors for publications, just students doing it. You have not really contributed, and if you have not done research for 6 months, 1 year, and then suddenly you are doing, so all these things will matter. Your CV will not be built, and most likely it will lead to rejection. Again, reviewers may not be experts in the field of research, so you need to really not confuse them and make the proposal accessible to them. But they'll definitely be from the domain, so they know what is the idea. Please ask some colleague or in the area of research, someone from your area of research, to read the proposal. Yeah, always try to be always try to get critiques and criticism from other researchers. That only helps in enhancing the research. Uh, this is something which I do usually if I meet the participants physically, give, at different points, give them activities, so that they can get a hang of building the introduction, building the background, budget, and so on and so forth. So I put this on the slide, and I'll be sharing the slide with the organizers, so the participants can if they are not into proposal writing, they can get started through these activities. But again, whatever activity you do, if you're not really reading consistently, reading good consistently, then it is really not possible to write project proposals. It cannot be done in a day, in a fortnight, in a month. It is a continuous process. So I'll just leave these activities. I think I have 4 or 5 activities. So these activities on various backgrounds, and the get started. So this is the end of my presentation of part 2. I hope I've given you some examples of the research projects. Of course, it will vary with researcher to researcher, but I hope the examples have really helped you with how the proposal looks like and what is the kind of effort, time, and reading which goes into writing a proposal. So again, I put in my ORCID ID and ResearchGate. This is the 3rd time in 3 days I'm asking everyone to have an ORCID ID. It is going to be mandatory. ResearchGate is a very good website to get all the articles and books from everybody. So I hope I've given you a glimpse of what proposals look like. So this is the end of my presentation. I'm open to any questions if anyone has. Thank you.
If the participants are having any other question, please post in the chat. Now I am going to read the question. One question from Samit Bhagwan.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, yes.
Sir, hello.
Sorry, sir. You can go on, sir. You can go on.
What is the question?
Sir, how much cost is for open access journal publication?
That depends from journal to journal, and if you go to the journal's homepage, in the guide for authors, in one of the subsections or section, they will provide the details for open access, and they'll let you know. If I'm not wrong, some Taylor of Francis. A Taylor of Francis journal probably requires, I think, $100 or something like that. I'm not really sure of the cost, but the cost is pretty high. So it is always good to go for the open access option if you are getting funded to some agency, because the agencies really want the work done by the investigator to be publicized. So that is a good option. But if you are an independent researcher without any funds, then it is really close to impossible to go in for open access.
One question.
So please take your call.
What exactly we need to write in?
Sir, one more question. Does BU offer funds for PhD scholars pursuing country?
Come again, sir. Can you please repeat?
Does BU offer funds for PhD scholars pursuing country?
Okay. I think VTU has introduced a full-time scholarship, but I think majority of it is part-time only. So I'm really not sure, but I have heard that VTU is offering full-time scholarship. But I think as far as I have seen, majority of the research scholars are part-time only. But there is, if I'm not mistaken, there is full-time scholarship available too. I think the registrar sir there could really help you with this, or the PhD section can help you. But there is full-time scholarship available.
Yes.
If a research work at its made, so can we apply for funding?
Yeah, I saw the question. If research work at its mid, does 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 it mean that the research work is mediocre, or does it mean that the research work is in the middle, like start, middle, and ending? Does it mean that? Okay, I'll answer both. If the research is mediocre, please do not bother about applying for funding. You will never get funding. If you are talking about research at the mid, that means starting, mid, and then ending, then yes, there are some fundings which you can apply. For example, I can give you an example. For example, your PhD at a particular university is, let's say, 4 years, and after which the university is not going to fund you. Then you are looking for funding for an extra year. So the university may say that, okay, you can be associated with us, but please arrange for funds from elsewhere. So there are some funding opportunities where the student as well as the advisor, the guide, can apply for funding and then get those funds, and then the remaining 1 year where the university is not funding you, the agency can fund you. So that is the middle kind of research where you can apply. But usually they look for a doctorate to finish, to apply for funding. So this kind of middle research work may not be really available. But there are some fundings which could be done.
Sir, one more question from Pallavi Joshi. What exactly we need to write in state of the art field in the technical document?
Okay, so I think ma'am is also asking if you can explain it with an example topic. Okay, so I'm from communication background. So if in my next proposal I'm going to write about asking for funds to perform research on 6G. So 6G is a technique which is going to be rolled out in 2025 or 2026, but the research is already going on there. So if I really want to get any funding on, let's say, the communication aspect of 6G, let's say terahertz funding, then I really need to tell them that the radio frequency band has been exhausted, and therefore there is a need for researchers to tap into the terahertz spectrum. And we know from communication, the higher the spectrum, the higher will be the bandwidth. Therefore, state of art will suggest that if I go higher in frequency, which is terahertz, I can get a whole lot of bandwidth. Because the applications of 6G, for example, holographic communication, cyber security, artificial intelligence enabled cars or houses, these will require very high bandwidth. So that would be something like a state of the art where the researcher is really abreast with knowing that RF spectrum has been exhausted, which someone who has not been reading for quite some time will not be really aware of that. So I have really told the reviewer that RF spectrum has been exhausted. I am also showing the reviewer that by tapping into terahertz or visible light, spectrum, I can get really high bandwidth. And by saying that, I'm also telling the reviewer that this high amount of bandwidth is required for certain applications of 6G, which are not present in 5G. So that will really tell the reviewer that I'm really associated with the state of art in the field. I hope that kind of answers the question.
Thank you, sir. You completely answered all the questions. Now it's time for feedback, as today is the last session of the speaker. So any of the participants is ready to speak, you can speak by raising your hand. First, I'm going to call Professor Pradeep Vibhuti, Assistant Professor, STM CET Dharwad. Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you, sir, for your insight on research proposal. You have really provided a clear picture, and which was very much necessary for the faculty like me who have around 5 to 6 years of experience and looking forward for research proposal. And sir, I also have a question. You mentioned that applicants CV should have some details about the project, what they're going to do. Is it that they should have done some background work or project related to research proposal, what they're going to present?
Yes and no, both. If you are a first-time applicant of a research proposal, obviously you are not going to have any experience in that. So in that case, your publications or any other thing like book or patent, that will count as the research experience. If you are a second or third time applicant of a proposal, then your previous research proposals will matter. So overall, the meaning of that statement is that consistently one has to show their involvement in quality research, be it through journal publications, be it through some book or patent or any kind of project proposals. Uh, there is a need for consistent quality research output from the applicant. That is the meaning of that statement.
Yes, sir. These three-day sessions, what you have delivered to us was really helpful. I especially thank electrical department of Tontadarya College of Engineering, who has organized such a wonderful FDP. So I thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I request Dr. Piyush Vishwakarma to speak few words about 3 days FTP. Over to you, sir. If any of the participants are ready to speak, please unmute your mic. You can give the feedback.
Sir, I think there is a question by Pallavi Joshi. I just read it. So I think ma'am is asking, so that means the desperate need of research is mentioned in the state of the art. Ma'am, I just want to tell you, just want to extend your question. It is not only the desperate need of research in state of art, it is the desperate need to provide solution to open problems of research in the state of the art. So that is what needs to be mentioned. What is the problem? What is the existing solution? What are the issues with the existing solution? And how is it that you or your team of researchers is going to provide better solutions to the existing problems? So that is what you need in the state of the art.
GM sir.
Hello, sir.
Vote of thanks ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ರಿ mostly sir ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸೋದು.
Nagla, sir.
Sir, myself, Mallikarjun. Sir, it was really a wonderful session. For the research point of view, we got a plenty of information from this beautiful FTP. Thank you for organizing a very beautiful FTP. And once again, I would like to thank Speaker sir for providing very beautiful information regarding research. Thank you, sir.
Now I request Dr. Vicky Magla, sir, Dean of Tontadarya College of Engineering, Gadag, to speak some words about today's speaker and also to propose vote of thanks. Over to Vicky Magla, sir.
ಮಗಳ ಸರ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸೋದ್ರಿ ಸರ್ ನೀವು ವೈಂಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್.
Hello, sir. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes sir, yes sir. Magla sir, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, His Holiness Dr. Tontadarya Siddhalinga Mahaswamiji and Dr. Tontadarya Siddharama Mahaswami is seeking their blessings with the help of, with the encouragement of Dr. M.M. Avati sir and the encouragement of our beloved Dr. Korchagaon sir. I requested Dr. Sridhar Iyer sir for the presentation of these 3 days sessions. As soon as I requested him wholeheartedly, without any single second delay, he has accepted, which shows his readiness always for the research community to serve his best. And all along these 3 days, every individual participant they have experienced his level of explanations, the way he delivers the lecturing, as well as the what actually he intended to convince to the audience. It will not come in a single day. It is the continuous involvement in the risk. I think Dr. Interest which he has kept abreast always the interest in involving in the research. Thank you, Iyer sir, for, because not only you had the interest and you have breeded the interest in so many aspirants through this Microsoft media under our electrical as well as R&D Center of Tontadarya College of Engineering. And only few have been expressed in this platform, but every day from the participants across various places, I am receiving continuously every day. I am receiving the praises, but I could just hear them. I can't. If they could be textual, I could have forwarded you. I could hear those only. And I could only say that, the appreciation, people are so confused that they won't appreciate also immediately. And when this is the thing, and when they are sparing some time to express their thankfulness for arranging such a wonderful session, that would be really work for them, what they felt. And therefore, on behalf of them, as well as on behalf of our management, on behalf of our principals, and on behalf of all our faculty, and last but not least, on behalf of myself, wholeheartedly express sincere thanks and gratitude for your involvement and for your deliberate expressions and explanation. And in this platform, presently, I request that all our participants, any of our participants, as well as any of our faculty, whenever they approach you, to solve their problems on the way of their writing either research articles, or that may be in the if they stuck anywhere else in the proposal writing. So I request you to guide them properly in this regard. We make you request once again. Thank you. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you, sir. And thank you all participants and organizers. I hope such sessions can be kept more, and it will be useful for all of us. So thank you for having me, and I hope I have met the standards of the organizers. I apologize for some delays because of fluctuations, but overall, I hope I have met the standards of the organizers. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Sir, one more request in this platform only. I am thinking, I am just, having discussions with the electronics and communication department also. As your area of interest is communication, so the evolution of these Gs from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G, to 4G to 5G, these evolutions, they are very much essential in future days for our students community. For students community, you need to address once as part of our request, and for our faculty also, Okay, so I would like to discuss with them, and I would like to understand the requirement on behalf of them. Request to you, and you please say appropriate date and time. At
Yes, sir. Surely we can discuss on a day and time for sure. I'll be more than happy to do so. So let us discuss it the day and time offline. But I'll be more than happy to contribute, to the college in whatever capacity I can. So thank you again for having me, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, sir, and thank you, Dr. Sridharaya, sir, for
Thank you, sir.
spending valuable time with us. And for your kind information, participants are not only present in Microsoft Teams, there are some of the participants also joined in YouTube portal also, sir.
That is good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for the participants, all the participants are requested to join tomorrow's session exactly at 11 a.m. without fail. Thank you. And the feedback link is shared in the chat box as well as it is shared in WhatsApp group. Kindly give your valuable feedback. Thank you. Thank you, Ananda.